Hello, everybody, and welcome back. It is June 22nd, 2024. Not that matters, but it's a bit different today. It's a different time of day. It's actually evening. Um, I got up. I had every intention of getting up, going to the gym, and running a couple errands before I went to my company picnic. But that didn't happen. I woke up later and then went to my company picnic. I got, took a shower, got dressed, that kind of thing, and went to the company picnic. Enjoyed the company picnic, and then I went to the gym, and now I'm doing this day in history in the evening time. But that's okay. I'm parked off the side of the road somewhere, um, in a parking lot here, so um, hopefully it's not a 20 or 30-minute video, um, because I'm focused. And so, yeah, we have some pretty interesting stuff. We have a few entertainers um, that have birthdays today, and some pretty influential people that have birthdays today. So let's just get into it. So the first birthday it's 1887. Julian Huxley, he's a British English um, biologist and philosopher. He influenced the development of embryology. Um, so what we know about embryos and the like is has a lot to do with his work, because he influenced what we know today. 1906, Billy Wilder was born in Sucha, Austria, or Sucha, Sucha. It's now Poland. He was an American movie director, producer. He was known for his films having the humorously treat subject matter of controversies, and by way of giving biting indictments of the hypocrisy of the way things are done here in America. So in a lot of ways, he was a pioneer in the stuff like, say, Mel Brooks was doing. If you have ever seen Blazing Saddles, it's a classic. Would it have ever seen the light of day in today's political climate? Not a chance. Not a chance. And because here's the thing is it has the prolific use of the N-word. It has a lot of the stereotypes of black people, white people, and just the thing is, like, people get so caught up on the verbiage used rather than the message sent. And that tends to be a problem in our society, is that we care more about the use of the word rather than the overall message. And if you ever get a chance to see Blazing Saddles, I highly recommend it. It's a great movie because what does it do? It pokes fun at the idiocy and the stupidity of racism. It absolutely just destroys any white supremacist views and thinking that they're superior in that racism is an okay thing. It just, yes, it is a comedy. It is, it is satire, but it's he is using this comedy, he's using this satire to really jab at the hypocrisy of, we live in a nation where, we promote the American dream. We promote the, the ideal of freedom and, brotherly love and all that. Well, we have a nation, our nation's history doesn't reflect that. So, it would seem that Billy Wilder was kind of a pioneer in that respect, and who knows, maybe he was an inspiration to Mel Brooks. So I don't know. In 1910, Katherine Dunham, she was an African American dancer, choreographer, and anthropologist. She was really known for her art through dance, choreography, and it really was. She is a credit to all African Americans, because she really utilized her talents to kind of build up the beauty of their culture. And so she was born on this day in 1910. On this day in 1936, Kris Kristofferson was born. He's an American singer, he's a songwriter, he's an actor. He's an old country crooner. Like, a lot of his music was of the country western variety. He's done a lot of movies. He was in the Blade movies, the Blade series. If you've watched any of the Blade movies starring Wesley Snipes as Blade, he played Whistler. And the guy is, he's amazing. I mean, like, he was a great singer, and he was an amazing actor. He's done a lot. I mean, he's done a lot of stuff. I mean, he did movies in the 60s. I want to say he was an Easy Rider, but I could be mistaken. He's done movies all throughout the 90s. I believe he was in, was it Payback with Mel Gibson? I think he was in that one too. But, I mean, and I didn't realize that he was born the same year that my stepdad was. So, like, kind of makes me miss my stepdad, but yeah, moving right along. Another American actress, Meryl Streep. Her birthday is today. She was born on this day in 1949. And who else was born in 1949 is U.S. Senator Elizabeth Warren, who probably she should probably try her hand at acting, because she certainly acts a fool a lot. I know I said I was never going to get political in these, but I just couldn't help myself. She's an absolute blithering idiot. Sorry. There's nothing nice I could say about her. We're talking about someone who, she belongs to the party that will cry foul to anyone who tries to culturally appropriate, someone's heritage, and yet she does the same thing. She went public and said how, she had some Native American heritage in her, and I can't remember what tribe she said she belonged to, but that tribe's genealogist came out and said, no, she's not. She is not one of us. We have the records to prove that she is not one of us. She shows up in none of our records. Her family shows up in none of our records. She is not one of us. So I think she was pining for votes at the time. I don't know. We have an American author by the name of Dan Brown. His birthday is today. He was born in 1964. American football player, and it's real football, not what the rest of the world thinks is football when it's really soccer. We'll get into that here in a moment. Kurt Warner, his birthday is today. He was born in 1971. So that's it for the birthdays. Now, we're going to go way, way, way back to 168 BC. Rome, the Roman Empire, they defeat the Macedonians, under King Perseus. Is at the Battle of Pydna, Pydna. It's at that battle, and the Romans beat the Macedonians. And what ends up happening is that it effectively ends Macedonian monarchy, right? The army's defeated, the king is deposed, and there is no longer a Macedonian kingdom, because Macedonia gets absorbed and annexed by the Roman Empire. In 1633, Galileo would recant the Copernican system. The Copernican system, basically in a nutshell, it's the model that says that the universe, our solar system, revolves around the sun. The sun is the central focal point, and everything else revolves around it. You had the religious authority at the time that thought, in their arrogant thinking, that everything revolved around the earth, and that to say otherwise was a heresy. I don't understand why, because there's nothing in the Bible that says that the universe revolves around earth. But they tried to make that basically the clergy said, if you speak anything that we deem as false, it's heresy. Whether they spoke against the Bible or not didn't matter, because they saw themselves as the ultimate authority in all things religion, and religion trumped science. Back then, science and scientific methods were budding. They were, becoming more and more popular, and it was their way of stamping it down. It was the whole, religion versus secularism, and they were trying to beat it down by being overbearing. So essentially what happened was that Galileo was accused of heresy by the Inquisition, and unless he wanted to be excommunicated from the church, and then as such, then they could legally, burn him at the stake as a heretic, he was given a choice. You can either recant what you've said, or continue with this foolishness, and we'll excommunicate you. You'll be separated from God, because we are going to cast you out. That you can never, which there's nothing biblical about that either. Man doesn't determine whether we go to heaven or not. That is all, that's all God's judgment, not ours. So they messed up there. At any rate, so he recants the system, even though it is the right system, and it's what we know of today, and we don't even think twice about it. When you go through your education system tells you that the sun is the focal point, and the rest of us revolve around that. Apparently the clergy couldn't handle that back then. We fast forward to 1815. Napoleon abdicates as French emperor for the second time. Might have something to do with that little thing that happened in Waterloo. Possibly. Maybe. Potentially. Fast forward to 1940. So, a couple days ago, we'd already talked about how Germany had rolled in, and they rolled into France and to occupy France. De Gaulle was exiled to London at the time. So the guy that took over for the French government, Marshal Philippe Pétain, he signs this armistice with Germany. And basically, in doing so, he created what is known as the Vichy French government. In other words, the French state. And they were Nazi sycophants. They were sycophants to Hitler's iron will. And funny enough, that when France was liberated, anyone who who worked on behalf of the Vichy's, they were treated very, very poorly. In fact, they were hunted down and punished for the traitors that their fellow countrymen perceived them to be. Women who slept with Germans were publicly humiliated, had their heads shaved, and it was kind of like a Scarlet Letter kind of scenario there. So that happened in 1940. In 1941. So if you know anything about World War II, in 1939, this non-aggressive pact was signed between Soviet USSR and Nazi Germany. And basically it was, we don't have a beef with you, even though our socialist regimes are completely different. We're not going to, we won't mess with you if you don't mess with us. Well, it is on this day in 1941 that Hitler decides now is the time to go knock out Stalin. And so he, which was stupid, I think what happened was, I think he was emboldened because let's logically look at this for a moment, right? He has Western Europe all sewed up, except for England, and that's an island, right? That's an island nation. He's not too worried about that. The Allies aren't going to be able to get a foothold on Europe from that direction. The only direction they could come from is Italy. Well, we got a foothold on Italy earlier, but that was the only direction we could come from. Well, I mean, he's got everything sewed up, between the Italians and his forces. He could keep the Allies at bay. So I think he felt like he didn't have to worry about the Western Front. He could go open up an Eastern Front, and then he could truly take the rest of Europe, and while he was at it, take over Russia, get their resources, and then move on across Asia. And then meet with the Japanese in the middle somewhere because they were their allies. But of course, his master plan was to go take over the Japanese too and make them capitulate to him as well. He wanted to take over the world. But at any rate, so 1941, he violates that pact. He attacks Russia, and then he will spend the next, almost 4 years rethinking that strategy, because what he ended up doing is that he ended up waking a sleeping bear, and then that bear went and joined the Allies, and so now he's being pinched like that between the two fronts. And he should have known the wisdom of what he should have learned from World War I was that in Germany did the same thing then. It's like they fought a two-front war, and it doesn't serve well when you are a country that sits right in the middle, and your enemies are over here and your enemies are over here. It doesn't sit well. He should have known that. 1955, Disney's Lady and the Tramp was released in theaters. In 1969, I can't make this up, Chicago's Cuyahoga River, it was so polluted that it caught fire. There were some floating oil slicks, and they caught fire. And the thing is, this wasn't the first time that it happened, but it was the first time that it had gained national attention, and to the point where it's some very stringent and strict anti-pollution laws went into effect as a result of it. Rivers got cleaned up. The pollution issue was addressed in a very aggressive way. But yeah, because 1969, a river catches on fire. 1978. This is when Pluto was still recognized as a planet. Its largest moon, Charon, Charon, was discovered. I don't know why they felt the need to say that Pluto is not a planet, and then they kind of amended it to say that it was a planetoid. It meets all the criteria being a planet because it has its own satellites, it has moons, and that had always been the criteria for what constituted a planet. You know, a stellar body that has satellite bodies in its orbit that, in a sense, essentially that's what it is. That's what constitutes a planet. And Pluto had that. You know, it was the smallest planet of our solar system, but I think they're trying to say that planets have to be a certain size, and Pluto was under that, and so therefore it was downgraded from a planet to a planetoid, which was stupid. Whatever. 1986. They called it football. I call it soccer. Argentine soccer player Diego Maradona scored the hand of God goal, which led the Argentines to defeat England in a World Cup quarterfinal game. Hand of God. So what ended up happening was, I read this, was kind of funny. The referee thought that the ball hit Diego in the head, which is completely illegal. And the ball hit his head, bounced off his head, went into the goal, and so the goal counted. They called it the hand of God because it hit his hand, not his head. And how the ref missed that, I don't know. But I'm sure the Brits were pretty perturbed about that, seeing as how it was Argentina that they had that Falklands War with just, 5 years earlier. Probably still haven't forgiven them over that one. You know, it was one of those things where, I mean, on paper it was declared that the British won the Falklands War, but I don't know. It was, there's some sketchy stuff there. I mean, yes, a major military unit did surrender, which signaled the end of the war, but that was Argentine company or regiment or something like that had surrendered, and so I guess that's why the British declared themselves the victor of that situation. I don't know. 2008, George Carlin passed away at the age of 71. He was crude, but he was a funny comedian. He was absolutely hilarious. If you're familiar with the Bill and Ted movies, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, Bill and Ted's Bogus Adventure, he played Rufus. He'd also he was in Jay and Silent Bob. He was a stand-up comic that he took on a lot of social issues and addressed them, and used his comedy to make sense as to why these social issues are stupid. He was brilliant. The FCC has 7 banned words that you cannot say live on the air, whether it's BTV or radio. And so he would say these words in his stand-up, and then he'd go on to a breakdown as to, the hypocrisy of the FCC. You'll let this occur here, but words are words, and you making a big deal out of words for whatever. He was funny. The last thing here, 1611, the mutiny against Henry Hudson. As you know, if you know anything about geography, there's this big, huge water inlet there in Canada. It's called Hudson Bay. If you know anything about the Oregon Territory, it was the Hudson Bay Company that did a lot of the fur trading in this region. Well, that's all named after this guy, Henry Hudson. So he was an explorer, a discoverer. He wanted to see if there was a way of finding a a quick route from Europe to Asia by going through the Arctic Ocean. I believe he was one of those that had discovered Baffin Island. Unless that was somebody else. But there's rivers, there's bodies of water, there's a whole bay. It was named after Henry Hudson. Well, this mutiny happens on this day in 1611, and basically what happened was that it really didn't go into detail as to why the mutineers, or at least that I could see, why the mutineers decided to rebel against Hudson. But I mean, he was the captain of the ship, so what they did is they set him, his son, and several other people that were loyal to him on a boat and sent them adrift. And so whatever happened to those guys, I don't know. Whatever happened to Hudson, I'm not sure what happened there either, but that mutiny it happened on this day in 1611. And that, my friends, does it for this day in history. Thanks for tuning in. We'll do it again tomorrow for June 23rd. In all likelihood, we'll probably do it earlier in the day. And hopefully I'll keep it short. I don't know. We'll see. At any rate, take care. Be blessed. Hope you all had a great day. Just be good to one another. That's all we can do in this life. Let's just make this world that we find ourselves occupied in, let's try to make it a better place. Leave it in a better place the way how we found it. That's just my personal encouragement to everyone. All right. With that said, be blessed, take care, and I will see you next time, which is, tomorrow. Oh yeah, like my shirt. Yeah, it's a Finest shirt. This was part of a fundraiser that we did, Canines for Warriors. So if you're wondering about this shirt, it's an old shirt from like 2016, I think 2017, somewhere in there. It still fits, and I love it. And the Finest, it's a G.I. Joe costume club. I know those folks. Any of you who knows me know that I am also a founder of another G.I. Joe costume club, and at least not on my part. There's no competition between us. I love those guys. I'm friends with a lot of them, so we try to work on our end. We try to work with them. So I just wanted to be known that there's no animosity between us and them. We're ARA. They're Finest. They're cool. I mean, they're good people. So yeah, that's why I'm wearing their shirt, because, well, it's comfortable for one, and it was, so I'm just giving them a shout out. So, love you guys. So, now I'm finally going to say, take care, be blessed. We'll talk to you again soon.